Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Welcome, everybody, to Friends in Recovery Podcast. I'm your host, Jersey Ed, along with my one co-host today, Tiff, and our special guest, Jeff Zazel. He's our monthly special guest. So good morning. I should say hello, everybody, because I don't know when you're going to listen to it. It could be the middle of the night, could be in the morning, but hello, everybody. How is everybody doing today?
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
Good. Glad to be here. I'm always excited when Jeff comes.
I know. Everybody loves Jeff.
I was way overexcited last time, so I do owe a public apology to Jeff, but that's coming. That's to come.
No need to apologize. Hey,
oh my gosh, Jeff, I get so excited when you come on because I believe in what you do. But the last show, oh my gosh. So anyway, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Don't blame
we'll get to that. But
we'll
first
get to that during my therapy session later on in the show.
Exactly. In her public apology on the next Friends in Recovery podcast. So.
I love it.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank Genesis House for their ongoing support of this podcast. Without them, of course, guys, we couldn't do this. And as I always say, go back over and listen to the commercial if you're struggling. Get a hold of one of us. Jeff, get a hold of Jeff. Jeff has a website. You have a website, Jeff?
I don't, but my phone number is available. So
we'll put the phone number in here if you need Jeff. Email us at Helping Friends in Recovery Podcast. There's all kinds of ways of getting help. We don't have to struggle anymore. Genesis House is a prime way. And Jeff has been working with Genesis House for God knows how many years. Probably about close to 20 years now.
Yeah,
and,
probably so.
You know, and that's why we bring him on here. Number one, because he's a trusted therapist in the Boston area that we've been working with closely for probably close to 20 years and vice versa. So, we really love your opinions and love your clinical look at all this stuff. So thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
This week's topic, guys, is a clinical look, of course, at step 4 with Jeff Zazel. That is why he's on here. He thinks he's a clinician, so just listen to what he says and
just keep it on TV.
Just he plays it. Yeah, he stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. So stay tuned for some amazing recovery and some amazing clinical talk from Jeff. We always go through our literature, so I want to let you guys know what literature we will be using today, so you can go grab it. I will be using the 12 and 12 and the Life Recovery book. Tiff is going to use the 12 secular steps and the 12 and 12. And Jeff will be using a field guide to lucid dreaming and lucid dreaming, a field guide to lucid dreaming and why we sleep. We do have a couple shout outs. I want to give a quick shout out to Dayton Strong Recovery 101, Joe and Addie. I was on their show. I wasn't on their show. I was listening to their show last night, and great show. When you get a chance, just check them out. Dayton Strong Recovery 101. And Joe is going to be speaking on our meeting, our Saturday Night Live meeting. So check that out. That'll also be in the YouTube area of our videos. So you'll be able to see his share too. So Tiff, do you have any shout outs?
I do. Chris has a very good friend. His name is Gino, and he just hit 13 years. So shout out to Gino for 13 years.
13 years.
His name was Gino.
He was a showgirl. No, that's not.
He is definitely not a showgirl.
Surgery.
He is definitely a badass, not a showgirl.
Well, you never know. Hey, listen, when that front door closes, you never know what goes on in those houses. So, all right, Gino, we're just kidding with you. Congratulations, Gino.
Good job, Gino.
Jeff, do you have a shout out for us?
Yes,
today?
To John C., who has on Monday will have 100 days, and I've been working with him for a number of years, and I'm really proud of him. He's doing fantastic.
It's a big number.
Yeah,
100 days for John C.
On Monday, so today would be 98, right? 97.
98, yeah
awesome.
98, 97. Congratulations, John C. So, and if anybody we are Facebook Live today, guys. We're going to try it for a couple shows and see what happens. If anybody in the Facebook group wants a shout out, put it up there, and as it goes through, I will mention the shout outs for anybody
except Carl, because you never know what he's going to say.
Oh my God. Well, thank God that doesn't get recorded over there. So and if you would like to get a shout out on the show, please email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. And remember, comment below the whole show. You can interact, as you hear things, let us know. We always answer anything. You can ask Joe and Carl. They're always commenting. I think they're the only two that comment on the show below, but please comment below. It means a lot to us, and then again, help@friendsandrecoverypodcast. You can email us our shout outs. Tiff, what about those wonderful AA meetings that we have going on over in Friends
we
in
do
Recovery
have the
Land.
Friends in Recovery community, which hosts
Recovery Land, that Friends in Recovery Land.
Recovery Land, in the land of recovery. We have the Friends in Recovery community, which hosts 2 meetings a day at 12 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the 7 p.m. and soon to come, the 12 p.m. meetings will be all listed on the AA-intergroup.org website. So they will all be listed there. Of course, you will be able to find them on our lovely website when it comes on board. And we have all of those additional meetings, which you can find all of those not only in our show notes, but you can also find them at genesishouse.net under connections. All of those additional meetings, like the loved ones group, the alumni and friends, all those extra additional third meeting a day type meetings that we're hosting. So we have those all listed everywhere. We have our coin challenge still going on.
All right.
And I just heard that we are getting more coins because we're flying through them. Friends in Recovery, attend any 30 meetings. Honor system. Let any of us know. Put a comment below in the notes. Obviously, you can send us an email at Friends and Recovery Podcast. .com, and we can get your coin out to you. We have .com, .org, .net. Anyway, they're all out there. Find us somewhere.
Just
and
Google
we will
us.
Get your coin to you.
We will. We will. And those coins are great. Oh, well, guys, real quick, because I didn't mention at the beginning of the show, because this part has to be done too. I was just going to go and say, Sky, how about you? Will tell us about the social media stuff, but Skylar's not here. So big shout out to Sky. She is out in Baltimore at a convention this weekend, an NA convention. She was so psyched and so stoked to go to that convention. She was just like out of her mind. So she's all happy
hanging out with her
Baltimore.
recovery people.
That's right. I seen on Facebook this morning. She had a shirt on, and I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but
yesterday.
Did you see it? It's a recovery is my jam, and she had big like peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
Skylar is crazy. So Carl says Skylar with a bunch of exclamation points and one of these California things, yo.
That's Longhorns.
Should I show them what we do in Jersey? No, this is a
No,
family
don't
show.
do that.
No, Chris's mother's watching.
Oh my God. So, okay. So now what about our social media stuff, Tiff? Since Skylar
I
is
don't
not
know.
here?
We're all over social media. We have special groups. We have the Friends in Recovery community, the alumni group, all those groups that are on Facebook under Friends in Recovery community. Join whatever one you can join. Get on so you can be, always be in the know of what's going on with Friends in Recovery. Also, it gives you access to the Facebook Live, so you can
Yes.
comment and
Yes.
hang out with us.
Be interactive
then-
in the show.
Yes, be active in the show when we do that. And then you'll also know when we're promoting the Facebook Live, because we don't know what we're doing and we might have some surprises and we might pop up here and there. And that would be awesome if we could have friends join us. So be a part of the Friends in Recovery community on Facebook. And then we also are on Telegram. And Telegram is a wonderful
This
app.
is cool. This is
Yeah,
cool.
it gives us the ability to communicate 24 hours a day. It's just this long stream of positive messages, support, anything happening all the time. You might need help, or you might just have to, want to share something positive that's happening in your day. But you're connecting with a bunch of sober people, and that's Friends in Recovery community. So go to Telegram, download that, or whatever, go to your app store, download the Telegram app, and you can join us. And of course,
Search
we're on
you search for Friends in Recovery community, and then I guess you request to join the community. If you can't, just send us an email and we'll hook you up with Stacy and she'll get you guys going as far as that goes.
And of course,
Cool.
we're on Snapchat, we're on all the other, social media sites, but look in the future, like this week, watch for us on TikTok, because we will start making Friends in Recovery community TikToks. It will be, basically for the podcast, but find us on TikTok. We are coming soon. So
Yes.
watch for us on social media. That's all I have. Back to the newsroom, Ed, unless you have anything, Jeff Zazel.
Do you have any news for us, Jeff?
I always
to
have
me.
stuff, but we're going to go back to Ed.
That's right. Good. You know what the cool thing about what is it? Telegraph, whatever I call it. Telegram, like graham cracker. Okay, Telegram. Is that people put different meetings. I'm not saying not to go to our Friends in Recovery meetings, but when you're not at the 12 Eastern time or 7 p.m. Eastern time daily, go to another meeting, right? And what they do in that Telegram is they put up like different meetings. I think somebody put up a 24-hour meeting up there, and different other meetings across the country, some people's favorite meetings. And, so that's really
society
cool
meetings,
too.
everything.
Yeah. Everything's in there. So that's cool. As far as getting joined up with that Telegram thing. So, one last thing before we bring up the question of the week is, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and please give us a 5-star rating, either on whatever platform you're listening to us. That helps us out a lot. That keeps the show going. That bumps the show up a little bit more. So please, a 5-star review, and that's important. Of course, like, subscribe, and share. You'll know when we're on and all that good stuff. Okay, this is not the question of the week, but I know Carl's on here. And I'm not going to wait till the end of the show to talk about SoberPod. So, Carl, we love SoberPod. I am a huge fan of SoberPod, just to let everybody know. And he's waiting. And I run every week and I listen to SoberPod. And I want to tell you how SoberPod helped me last week. Okay, the SoberPod episode. So last 2 weeks ago, I was walking through the mall, or a week ago, I was walking through the mall on a Saturday, and just running through the mall, go grab something. And I looked down as I'm going, there's a wad of money. And I'm like, oh shit, like, what do I do with it? So I'm asking everybody, asking this person, that person, this person, that person. Nobody had it. Nobody, it was nobody's money. It was like under $100, but still. So I'm like, all right, what do I do? If I bring it to Lost and Found, those guys are probably just going to pocket it. Somebody's probably going to, Carl goes, keep it. So I stuck in my pocket, and it's like burning my mind. I'm like, this is not my money. This is not my money. This is not my money. Right. So I go running the next morning. I get out early. I go running. I did I think a 12-mile run last week on Sunday, and I turn on SoberPod, and they were talking about, I think, being accountable. I forgot what it was, what show it was. I'm sure Carl put it up here in a minute. They said they were talking about, if you find a $20 bill on the ground, what do you do with it? Right. So in the back of my head, I figured that I was going to donate it to the church. I go to church after I go running every morning. And I ended up just donating to, ended up donating to the church, but that was one of the suggestions that they said on SoberPod. So it really kind of set my my sights right. I didn't turn it. I'm not that Carl and Chelsea are the end all be all, by no means are they. No, I'm kidding. But they it was bothering me, and I didn't talk to anybody about it. And lo and behold, the accountability episode from SoberPod ended up kind of verifying what I should, the right thing to do with it. So,
I like that. Pay it forward. Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah. So anyways, so that was, thank you, SoberPod. We love you guys over there. Keep up the good work. They always do a good job, Chelsea and Carl. So,
and check out their members only section. Yeah, join that for $2 a month. There's a lot of good resources, especially for the 4-step, but they also have additional services that, Carl has worked to develop these relationships with some people. And, there's a lot of extra stuff that you have a benefit of for just $2 a month that are really awesome recovery. So yeah,
absolutely. Good. I forget about that. I don't belong to it. So maybe I should throw them the $2 and
take the money you find and fund it.
Yeah. You could have joined for what, how many months now?
I know I could have been like a lifetime member. Oh my God. All right. So the question of the week, guys, Carl said he's pimping.
Oh gosh.
Send something pimping.com. I guess $2 a month.
I told you not to read his comments.
I know. He'll go on and on. So I'll stop reading. The last one is, where's my $2? Send Carl $2 so he's not on here demanding it. So anyways, question of the week, guys. What is the last book you've read? The last book you've read. Comment below. Also comment in the in Facebook Live if you want, so we can read some of those books on the air. But we're going to start with, of course, ladies first. Jeff, go ahead.
I love that, Ed. That's an enigma wrapped around a dilemma.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Jeff. No, go ahead, Tiff. You go first.
Well, thank you.
No, you go ahead, Jeff. You're up.
Thank you so much. So I'm actually always reading a whole bunch of books. So some books I read several times. So this book, If Your Guide to Lucid Dreaming, was written by 3 fine young men, Dylan Tusilo, Jared Zeisel, my son, and Thomas Peisel. So they all went to NYU together, and they actually were interested. It's the 10th year anniversary. They're coming up with a new edition. This was published, I think, in 05, 07 or something. And I like reading it. So my son wrote it. They were all like filmmakers and writers. So it's on the bestseller list of like independent bookstores. So I read it, unless I'm giving him a plug. So so that's actually a really useful book. And I remember when I was a little kid, like 7 years old, a friend of mine said to me, "Do you dream in color?" I said, "I don't know." And I said, "If I have a dream, I'll look at my clothing and I'll see if I am dreaming in color." And I did, and I was. That's lucid dreaming, that when you are in a dream, you have awareness. And it's very useful for people who are maybe struggling and have nightmares, or I work with a lot of folks with PTSD. You can actually find a way to control the terrible dreams and nightmares. So there's some psychological benefits, and it's actually a well-written book. The other book, ironically, I'm reading is Why We Sleep, written by a British neuroscientist, and it really talks about the wonderful health benefits of sleep and how most of us do not sleep enough. And those of us who are sleep deprived, we actually endanger our overall psychological and physical health. So I'm really enjoying both of those books.
Awesome.
Good. Yeah. And go buy Jeff's son's book. He needs to go through college, or needs to pay his dad back.
He needs to make a living.
I do like that recommendation. I do suffer from PTSD, complex PTSD, which we've talked about before, Jeff. and I suffer from terrible flashbacks and nightmares. And so that is one of the things that was brought to my attention during one of my therapy sessions. Is she asked, do I dream in color? And so we've been working through some of those things. So I would love to read that book. I'm going to grab it. So kudos.
I'll get you an autographed copy.
Awesome.
Not by you though, Jeff.
Not by me. At least by
The
myself.
writer's dad, Jeff Zazel, he signed
Yeah,
it.
I take no credit.
That's right. Go ahead, Tiff. What's your what was the last book you read, Tiff?
Okay,
Or
so
reading,
I also
reading.
read a lot every single day out of many different books. But the last book I read was Calm the Fuck Down,
Nice.
which is the No Fucks Given Guide to Taming Anxiety and taking control of your life. So I actually bought it for Chris, and he never picked it up off the shelf because he never reads books. And so I thought, well, I wonder what's in here. But it's by Sarah Knight. She has a whole series. It's nothing, clinical. It's just her opinion on how to handle anxiety and calming the fuck down. And it actually has been very effective. It also has one thing that I found interesting, nothing related to, I didn't pick it up recovery related, but she has her own version of the Serenity Prayer, which I thought was pretty cool. So check it out. And then the one I'm reading now, you're going to call me a big cheese, is 100 Ways to Love Your Husband, which gives you simple action steps to love him well.
Wow.
And they make another one that says it's the husband wrote 100 Ways to Love Your Wife. And you can find them everywhere. I actually heard it, when we talked before about those stations we listen to in the car.
Yeah. Yes.
And I listened to the religious station, one of the religious stations. And they were interviewing them, and I found it very awesome. Awesome interview about the book. It's been great. Chris still has not bought the 100 Ways to Love Your Wife, just so you know.
Here's a condensed version, 10 ways.
As long as he doesn't buy the 100 Ways to Love Your Girlfriend, then you're safe, okay?
Or he'd be dead.
Or he'd be dead. Yes, exactly.
That's how to print that version, though.
Yes, exactly. We have some comments in the chat room here. So let's see. Carl says he is reading. Where is it? Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. Bambi, welcome.
Philosopher.
Yes. Jeff, you probably read that book or in the process or going to read it.
On my list.
Very similar. Bambi, D, A Woman's Guide Through the 12 Steps.
Great book. Amazing book. Have the workbook. It's amazing. Great job, Bambi.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, Bambi, great recovery. Keep it going, Bambi. We love you over there. So, the book that I just got done reading, I read 2 books at a time. It's weird. I read one book in the morning for my, inspiration and all that stuff. And then I read one just because I like reading at night, and it's usually more of a thinking book, more complex, more kind of detailed than just my daily whatever. But I did just get done reading Unfuck Yourself, Jeff. That was a great book.
Oh,
that was
good.
A great book, a recommendation by you. So another recommendation by you was this, Every Single Day.
Yes.
Every Single Day. So this is a book. Jeff and I are runners. This is a book. I just started it this morning about a woman who ran 1 year every day, a mile or more a day for 1 year straight. And she tells her story about it, why at the beginning. It's a really, really good book. I just got through the first 25 pages of it, and I'm like, already captivated with it. So it's an amazing book. So, and that's my daily inspiration book. I get quotes from it. I get inspirations from my morning book. I write things down. I put speeches together from these morning books, right? So that's what I do with that. But my nighttime book is this one, is Tony Robbins' Life Force. And this book is an amazing book too. It goes into a lot of AI stuff for your health, a lot of different testing, what's the yes the cell when the cell replacement, what do they call that?
Like stem cell.
Stem cell, yeah, stem cell. He had a bunch of stem cell stuff done, and he writes about it in his book, and it's just turning the medical field upside down with what they do with stem cells now. So just amazing stuff, and he's a big supporter of that. Good, really good book. So all good books here we're talking about. Carl's putting a lot of them up in the Facebook live chat. If you're not on Facebook Live, or if you're listening to us on YouTube and you want to see all this stuff that goes on, get on Facebook Live next time we're up, guys. You know, just get on and join us. So thank you for your wonderful book picks. You know, they're great. Guys, if you have any questions about the books that we're reading, or if you want suggestions about books that we're reading, please email us at help@friendsinrecovery podcast, and we will be more than happy to either make suggestions or get some books out to you. So here's the meat of the show, guys. Step 4. I woke up this morning, I'm like, again with this step 4 shit? Really? Come on. I mean, how many times are we going to do this? Well, we're going to do it the whole month. Yeah, 4.
At least 4
the whole
times.
month.
Right.
At least. So step 4 is made a search and fearless moral inventory ourselves. So on the plane ride back home from my trip, my business trip last week from Boston, last night I finished writing my 4th step, part of my 4th step, right? And it was a search and fearless moral inventory of myself.
All the columns? Or
no, 2 right now. I was told by my sponsor, just 2 right now.
2 columns. Okay.
Yes, right now.
Yeah.
So that's what we were working on. So here's what I found, right? And I'm not, and Jeff, this is going to be a great segue into what you're doing, and you know, how we look at this. And I have 1,000 questions for you, but so when I did it, Tiffany gave us some good advice last week, and actually we pulled it from SoberPod's a page where there's a bunch of columns and a bunch of a 4th step kind of packet that he has on there, work packet that he has on there. So Tiffany said, visualize like your work or your houses or your whatever as you're going back in time. I have 3 wives, so I visualize the 3 different wives in those areas with friends with those wives.
I didn't know you were Mormon.
Yes, well, yeah. No, it's not 3 at once.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Told him to create a timeline.
Yes.
You know, from the beginning where he was born,
The early years
to the today. And then you put every house you lived in, or jobs you've had, schools you went to, so you can visualize where you were in your life.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
And it worked really well, guys. It worked really well. And for me, it went very smooth, very easy, very quickly. And a lot of that stuff came up, you know, and came back to me very quickly. Now, here's the thing, guys. I don't live in the past. I don't care about the past anymore. What's done is done. Of course, we have to clean up the wreckage of our past, but I don't get bothered by the past. And that's just me. And this is just me saying this. So when I went through this, I wrote down what you know, the resentments. I wrote down what was the cause of it, the whole 9 yards, right? And I was okay with it. But I know some people struggle through it. Like Skylar is struggling through it last week. You know, you watch a show. She said she was struggling through it. And but my thing, guys, is, and I'll turn the show over to you, Jeff, in a minute. I just want to talk a little bit about my 4th step and the search and fearless moral inventory of it. My thing is the future stuff. The future tripping, like, oh my God, now, you know, how do I clean this up? That's where I get a little squirrely. Oh my God, my 5th step. Now I got to talk to my sponsor about it. Oh my God. That's kind of where I get squirrely. Going back in time, it really doesn't bother me. And I don't know why. I'm not sure why. So my question to you, Jeff, on the 4th step, there's a lot of questions, but just maybe, why do some people, not even on the 4th step, but why do some people live in the past? Good Jethro Tull album, actually. Why do some people live in the past? And why do some people future trip? Or why do people do both of those things? And how do you get out of it?
It's a great question, Ed. And I think the 4th step is a remarkably powerful experience. So there are people. So when I see patients and we talk about, you know, how they're doing it, and I always sort of start in a very similar way. Oh, so what brings you here? Like, what's going on? Tell me tell me what you think I need to know. And then, of course, I ask questions. We have a dialogue. Some people I see, it's their first time where they have issues with addiction or they have some other problems. Police officers, they often will say, I've never been in therapy before. Like, how does this work? I just say it's two people talking, and listening. So I try to listen, but I also speak. So my approach often is to give them feedback, because I always think, like, if I was sitting in this office with a therapist, what do I need? I want someone to really give me some feedback. I want to know, like, hey man, when you think that way, you're creating a whole bunch of problems for yourself. Like, I want someone to wave the flag, like, bring it down. That's dangerous. Please don't do that. Let me explain why. And we could talk about it. But there are people who will say, I have a lot of problems with depression. Other people say, I'm very anxious. So I often talk a lot about a variety of things and, 12-step issues, philosophy, meaning of life. And I remind them, life is a gift. It's finite. Every day you waste, you do not get back. What would you rather have, time or money? I can always make money. I cannot make time. So I always say, give me time, give me life, give me purpose. Then I can integrate those things. So people who have problems with depression are living in the past, I think. People who have problems with anxiety are living in tomorrow. They worry about an event that does not exist.
Yeah. Okay.
Some depression, this stuff happened 20 years ago. I still can't get over it. So I see a lot of, as we've talked about before, first responders, a lot of cops, and they struggle with things that have happened many, many years ago. I remember seeing a Vietnam veteran 30 years post the war. So he's been out of Vietnam for 30 years, going on 4 decades, because it was over 31 years. And he still didn't get over killing a 12-year-old boy. I understand that. And it was accidental, the fog of war. So we worked through it and we did some things that helped him. And, cases like that sometimes benefit with things like EMDR, et cetera. But when we think about the fourth step, one of the beauties of that step is that you're writing this stuff for yourself. It's your list. It's not for anyone else. It's not for this therapist. It's not for your family members. It's not, talking to your friends who maybe you have wronged. It's stuff that you need to do. So it's interesting because one of the things we know, the psychological benefits of writing, is that you can write this stuff down. No one has to know. Now sometimes you have to share some of the stuff, but you don't always have to from a psychological journaling point of view, because I'm ashamed. I feel terrible. I don't want to tell a soul. Maybe if I write some of this stuff and someone gets it, like I get in trouble, like I broke the law. I did criminal thing. I always advise people, like, be careful what you share. It's good to share things, but some people, you don't want to jam yourself up. And I'm not saying hide behind anything. I say take responsibility, but don't be naive. So, so like some people, I remember running therapy groups 30 years ago in a rehab place in Boston, and the guy was admitting to crimes that he committed. And I grabbed him afterwards. I said, listen, don't be so specific, because you don't know who's out there. And someone may cause trouble for you. You don't need that. There were some robberies. You had an addictive disorder. Yeah. But the amazing thing is that some people just can't get it out of their head. When you put pen to paper, that's a way of letting go of the past. That's a way of letting go of regrets, of the depression, of the sadness. And then you can do whatever you want with that paper. You can burn it. You can do like the Hindus do with when someone dies, they cremate people. They have a funeral pyre. They stack wood and they put the body on it. You can burn, there's something symbolic about fire. It's early, it's how man lived. Without fire, we would not evolve. Yeah. So there's something transformative about it. You take that list, stick it into your, backyard fire pit and set it a torch. It cleanses you, and we all go back to the earth anyway. So it's like, it starts with something, it becomes ash, you put it in the ground, you can grow, put it in your garden. I mean, there's a lot of metaphors, but some people just have trouble letting go. So, and they live in the past. One of the things that's really important, and that's great about this opportunity for all of us to chat, is that we can practice things about recovery and mindfulness, clearing our head. The beauty about AA is one day at a time. It's about today. The Zen Buddhists talk about that. The Hindus talk about it. The Stoics talk about it. The spiritual people, mindful people, who talk about living in the day, capturing that moment. There's a famous Zen Buddhist recently died. He was living in Paris or southern France. He was Vietnamese. His last name was Knock, and he talked about trying to remind yourself of being present in the moment. And when you're working your fourth step, it really is about being present in that moment in time. But you may actually be remembering things that bring you back. And I really like what you had said, Tiff, that memory is like a mosaic. It's hard to remember things, but sometimes you key it up and then you remember. So think about like the segments of, and Ed talked about, various relationships, wife number one, wife number two, wife number three. And, we could joke about it, but it's actually a useful way to look at it. Like what happened in that relationship? What are my regrets? And it's about being accountable, putting stuff out there, owning it, no excuses. You take the hit. This is what I did. And you can't get upset when people give you a hard time because you did do that. And it's about being accountable. So,
well, we're not those people. We're not those people anymore either. And I'll turn to you.
Right.
We're not those people anymore. When in recovery, we don't do that stuff anymore. Right. And we need to clean it up. That's why we're doing the 4-step and the, and that's why we do this, because we don't want to be those people anymore. And if you hang on even to an inkling of it, there's still the chance that you're hanging on to it. It's like a reservation, that you might fall back to being that person. So for me, you just get it completely out, completely done, get all your resentments completely over and done with and move on,
So you said, we're not those people anymore. I have to disagree with you a little bit on that.
Okay.
And here's why I'm saying that, because I feel like, yes, recovery, and the 12 steps have changed, my whole person, my life
still
today
Robin Banks, everybody
is beyond, my wildest dreams. But what I've found is that I am still that same person. And so that's why I get so excited when Jeff comes on, because I 100% believe that I am a person who needs a therapist and the 12 steps to be able to be the person I am today. Because the 12 steps got me through that past stuff. It allowed me and taught me how to take some ownership of those things, all of those great things. And I get to do that on a daily basis going forward. I, however, still have some of those behaviors, either because of how I grew up, because of past deep traumas and wounds that have happened to me. And so I've learned that I absolutely 100% need to work the 12 steps and have a therapist at the same time, so I can learn more about my behaviors, and become this game of progress, right? This person of progress where I'm moving forward and I have growth in the future, but I need help with a person like Jeff. And, that's why, and here's my public apology. I was so embarrassed after I watched the show last time Jeff was on.
Why?
And because I cut him off. I was so excited. I cut off every single message that he was talking about. Now,
I needed to be cut off.
But I'm bringing up a good point in that first message I just gave. Jeff just said, getting things out on paper is a good way to learn and look at ourselves, right? And learn these behaviors. I was able to do that by listening to the podcast, looking at my mannerisms, my expressions, right? And I was appalled. Now, previously, without therapy, that would have taken me out for this whole month. I would have probably avoided talking to either of you ever again. I would have quit my job. And this is the dead truth.
I don't mean to laugh.
I would have quit my job. I would have isolated and got severely depressed more than I did. I still did get depressed. I still did get hard on myself. But I was able to work through that stuff with a therapist, right? And I'm able to take ownership through my 10th step and come up on here and say, Jeff, I'm sorry that I apologize, right? But here's my question, Jeff, because I find it very important. How do you help people who have those deep seated traumas and wounds that they have to let go of in order to recover, and get better, but to continue to let it go today, but let's work through it in the future. How do you do that?
That's such a great question. And by the way, you are such a beautiful person to have the strength and awareness to like see this and then talk about it. So
Yeah.
here's some interesting feedback for you. So you're saying, oh my God, I looked at the podcast and I really apologize. I cut you off, this and the other thing. After that podcast, you know what I thought? That was a great podcast. And what great things we all said. I never
That's
once.
what my therapist said, and so did Ed.
Yeah, I never once
Like,
said,
what?
oh my God, I got cut off. I didn't even know it. I wasn't even aware of it, because this is, first of all, we're all on the same team. This is like a family. So it's fluid. And, you ever notice how like couples or good friends or people know each other so well, they quote the phrase is, oh, I can finish their sentence for them because they know each other so well. But we all come from the same spot. We're all about recovery, all about quality of life, all about psychological well-being. So I could say something, you jump right in, and I don't even feel like I'm being cut off. I feel like you're taking the word and running with it, and you're moving with it and just expanding upon it. I never once felt cut off. Wow. So what does that tell?
It's funny that you said that. I'm so glad you just said that, because my therapist was like, for number one, nobody else is thinking like this. You're the only one.
Right.
But that's my point, is this old trauma and wounds that I have still stemming in here that I need to work on with someone like you. So I don't feel like that.
Right.
So I feel like this is normal.
Yeah.
Well, step 6 will take care of all that.
Yeah.
He's so sensitive.
And the steps are so helpful. And
character defects.
Working the steps is like painting a bridge. You get to the end, what do?
Yeah.
Start over again.
Yeah.
So like Ed, you had earlier said, how many years do you have in recovery? 27?
28.
28. So you have so many years. And here you're a guy who's working step 4. Like, oh, I thought you did the steps and you're done with it. Now you're into something else. No. You constantly work them. It's like going to the gym. You don't go to the gym once and you're set for life. You go to the gym all the time. So there are things you often do to keep yourself grounded and healthy, and it's feel good about that. So I was impressed. Like you said, I started writing the steps down. They change, and you have different memories, and things come up again, and something is new because you feel bad about something you did, and therefore you need to like own it and be accountable. So, but it is interesting. So here's sort of like the takeaway. So one of the things, you have tremendous self-awareness. That is a gift. Not everyone has that. They walk around angry and hurt and depressed, and they have no idea why. And therefore, they will live their life, the rest of their lives that way, because they don't look internally. It's everyone else's fault. So you don't have that. You are the other way. You look at everything. You own everything, maybe too much. So if it's raining outside, what the hell happened? I'm sorry. No, it's not your fault. So so it's interesting. So one of the things that's really useful is to remind yourself, like, I know I'm like this type of person. I know I tend to feel overly sensitive and I own too much. And then I feel mortified. And like, then, your old behavior is, I'll never talk to these guys again. I got to quit and move to Albania. So, so because you want to avoid, avoidance is the most common human defense. Yeah. So we are uncomfortable, we avoid. This step is about not avoiding, about owning. But remind yourself that you're a person who tends to react this way. And by the way, you're way too hard on yourself and no one even knows it. Like no one even picks up on that. Like when you said that, like when you said you were going to apologize, I had no idea what you were talking about. Like I had no idea. So, and I'm sure Ed had no idea either. So like, and we care about each other. So even if I step on someone's toes, I also believe that there's a lot of love here and we forgive each other, but there's no reason to even apologize. So remind yourself, this is how you're wired. You tend to be a little sensitive. You tend to overreact. You tend to own it. So when you're feeling that, ask yourself one question. Gee, did I really do something terrible? Or is this my old pattern of thinking? And is this what's really coming up? And let me think about the last time I felt this way, what happened? Oh, well, the last time I felt this way was, our last podcast, and I had to apologize. And wait a second, everyone's telling me there was nothing to apologize for, because truly there isn't. So, it's useful to remind yourself, like, oh, I'm going to work on these things. But, at the end of the day, we are all imperfect. And as long as you can forgive yourself. There's a biblical passage that I don't really exactly know, but it's Old Testament, by the way. So
Okay.
Ed is part Jewish. He's a member of the tribe.
I am
We
2%.
welcome you, Ed.
Thank you.
6%.
Come home, everybody.
5% Italian and 6% Jewish. So,
Yes, exactly.
so that's 11%. We don't know what the 89 other percent is. But the interesting thing is that there's a biblical passage that says, someone had done something terrible and they apologized and they went to the rabbi and they said, I apologize to this person. And they apologized 3 times. And the rabbi said, some people may never forgive you, but you have to forgive yourself. But it's reasonable to believe that if you apologize numerous times, that's enough. You're no longer, having to apologize. You have to let stuff go. And that's the stuff in the past. So what do we know about Stoicism? Yesterday's dead. Tomorrow does not exist. It's a good mindful approach.
Sure.
Staying on today.
You brought up 2 really super good things that I love about this step. That 4th column is all about that self-awareness, where you're taking ownership for all of these your resentments in each individual line of your causes of resentment or whatever, any behavior or situation. And I learned that from this step, this self-awareness, and really was able to get in tune with the help of my therapist with my body and being aware of these overall things. And then the biggest thing I got from this step was that self-forgiveness, because I was shaming myself so bad for so many things that I did while I was using and drinking. I was a walking ball of guilt and shame, and it was terrible. Seeing this on the TV also, or on the screen, I was able to look back and say, all right, there's several things, not just that. I need to get my ADD back in check. Like, we need to start talking about that right now. Again, we need to, I'm cutting people off. I'm not focusing. I'm from here to there. I can't relax. I was up and down and moving and around. Right. But it gave me writing these things down, like you said, Jeff, not just throwing it away. Even it has developed this pattern over the last 3 years of now I have the courage to share it with somebody else like you, or on the podcast, or live on Facebook Live. Through writing these things down, I've gained that self-awareness, and I've gained the ability to have the courage to share it with other people and other people that can help me. So,
well, the healing properties of this step, number 1, the growth properties of this step, number 2, and the quicker we do that and the quicker we move through it, like Jeff said, he didn't even realize it, but self-awareness. And the other thing about you, Tiff, too, is just letting shit go. You let shit go, a lot easier than most people do. Now, I know you hang on to it sometimes, but so does
2
everybody.
days.
But
I only allow myself 48 hours.
Yep. And you're good at letting it go and just kind of moving on. And Jeff, it's I like what you said about depression is living in the past and anxiety is living in the future, man. I never even thought, that's why we have you on here, because I never even realized that. I have, well, not a lot anymore. I'm learning how to get rid of it, but I'm really not depressed. I'm happy. I get, maybe when the sun isn't out, that's the only time I'm really depressed. I'm not a depressed person. I'm full of anxiety, and my shoulders are always up. I'm always having to pull my shoulders down. I'm always trying to think, positive, get out of the future. So that is so true, that depression, I guess. Oh my God, I wish I had my job back. Oh my God, I wish I had my wife back. Oh my God, I wish I was 22 again. Oh, I could see getting fucking real depressed. You know what? You could keep all that shit in the past. I don't fucking want it. I learned from it already. And that's why I'm at where I'm at today. You know what I mean?
And that's right. And every day is a gift. So even though I had problems yesterday, today is full of opportunities. Today is full of hope. Anything's possible. We call that optimism. So people who are optimistic become more resilient. And if you're more resilient, you live a more quality of life. And there are characteristics that go along with, how does one become resilient? So it's taking responsibility. It's owning this stuff. So, Tiff, you're so, psychologically oriented, and there's such health with that. Like, you look at yourself and you own it. And then it's about forgiveness. I own this and I can forgive myself. And then I like what you said, 48 hours. Great.
That's great. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be it could be 5 hours. It could be a lot till lunchtime. So you know, the Navy SEALs, when they go through Hell Week, you know what they say to themselves? It's 6 weeks of, or longer, I think 12 weeks of terrible ordeals and hardship. So it's not uncommon for a Navy SEAL group to have like 90% of the people drop out before they successfully complete, because it's so hard. It's demanding physically, but the hardest part is from the neck up. It's how you think about it. It's how you react to it. So the research around people in Navy SEALs, what they've discovered is that to quote, quit and drop out, you got to ring the bell. It's shaming. You're ringing the bell. You're announcing that you are quitting. They do that by design. So because you can sneak out the back door, which some people do, but they want you to ring the bell. And what they've discovered is that when one person rings the bell, when people are dropping out, lots of people will follow. Why is that? Because they say, oh my God, I looked at that person, I thought they're tougher than me and they're quitting. I have no choice and I'm going to quit. That's a cognitive distortion. Yes. Oh my God, I can't do it. What you did, what you were doing to yourself was distorting your cognitions. I can't believe I was so terrible. No, you weren't. So people ring the bell. Then they discover that when one person rings the bell, lots of people ring the bell after. So then the trick is to say, wait a second, that's them. That's not me. And I'm going to do the best I can. And how do you get through terrible ordeals? It's an AA approach. One day at a time, 1 minute at a time. So what the Navy SEALs say is they get up, they're working real hard, they're running on the beach, they're doing what's called the sand cookie, they roll wet in the sand, they jump in the water. Terrible ordeals. I just have to make it to lunch. That's how you get to, I just have to make it to lunch. So I often say, if I'm having a tough day, like I know I'm testifying in a court case and they're going to be grilling me and it's an arbitration hearing or something. And, I know I'm trying to help some person, they're coming at me and I'm like anxious, but I just say, you know what? I just have to get to lunch. My day will be fine. And, usually it goes well and I get to lunch and I feel better. So there's also an interesting connection. There's a thought and there's a feeling. The feeling is, oh my God, this is horrible. The thought is, well, if I can have a thought that says, it is horrible, but it's not that horrible. I'm not being attacked. I'm not living in, Donbass in Ukraine, in Eastern Ukraine, where the Russians are killing innocent people. I'm not there. I'm here. This isn't so bad. We can get through this. So it's about thinking through. So like the useful thing for you, Tiff, is to say, wait a second. I know I'm sort of wired this way. Therefore, I got to let it go. I'll cut myself a break. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
that's why I love Genesis House so much. This is because, well, here's why. It was not just recovery that I needed, right? And separation from drugs and alcohol. I had to do a lot of intense work with cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, learning how to, live in the real world with recovery. And that's why I've been so attracted to Genesis House after I went through treatment and through the steps and worked, with a therapist and things like that, because Genesis House offers these things. That's why you believe in Genesis House, Jeff. I know that's why. That's why Ed does. Because this is where you can get those types of that type of recovery. You can't get that everywhere.
No. So, you're right. So I recently sent a guy down there. I think he's still there for staying 60 days, thankfully. And so the clinical director, Steve Adam, calls me up and we have a little conference call. And the guy gets on the phone just thanking me. Thank you so much for sending me here. My life has changed. I'm like so much better. And he said, it's not just about not drinking. It's about feeling okay as a human being. I've learned to like myself.
And learning to communicate.
Exactly. And I can improve my mood by just thinking like, hey, I have a disease. It's okay. I didn't choose this. It sort of chose me and I ran with it. So, it's about restructuring the thoughts. When you can do that, you just automatically start feeling better.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff, I want to talk about something that, that's big amongst everybody is trauma. And I know this is kind of one of your not expert, but this is something that you specialize in, especially with the first responders and that's huge amongst that community. But I want to talk about the trauma that step 4 can bring into somebody's life, right? Again, I'm not that person that lives in the past. Did I think of some things? I'm like, oh yeah, if I only did this, then maybe I could have been with my second wife. But then if I did this and was my second wife, I would never be with Stacy again. You know what I mean? So it brought up some things like, first of all, I shouldn't be overthinking this. This is not what this step is about. And second of all, it's about, kind of just getting it out and moving on. But what about that person that can't get out of the past, that person that's depressed? And the trauma in their lives around this person that they're trying, that they have a resentment over or for. And how does one talk about, write it down, and then try to get through the trauma that that was put in their lives through this particular person, place, or thing?
It's a great question, because there are some people who probably the 4th step could be very challenging for them. And we can't always say, oh, this works for everybody. No, it doesn't. There are probably people who, if they did this 4th step, they could sort of, put themselves at risk for something negative, whether they're going to relapse or they just brought them back to a really bad place. So when one is doing it, I think they have to be prepared. Like, some of this stuff may cause a lot of problems for me, and I may need to have supports in place. Mm-hmm. To be prepared. And maybe you don't have to do it all at once. No one says you sit down at 9 a.m. and you keep on going. I mean, some places, like some treatment programs, say you're not leaving the room until you finish it. Mm-hmm. But, maybe that's not okay for everyone. Some people may say, look, I just need to, someone's calling. There's my son calling from Miami at the Bitcoin conference. So there are some people who perhaps need a little assistance. So we know that, for example, I see this happened in Genesis' house. I see a guy, young man, drug problems, etc. And I don't know the depth of his psychiatric illness. I'm thinking, oh, it's drug related. You don't really know until you clean him up, type of thing. Sends him down. And he goes, and he's really not a good fit, because his psychiatric problems are so severe that he needs a little more additional psychiatric care before he can really deal with the substance abuse, because he's decompensating, really. Mm-hmm. So there are people who step 4 could be, I don't want to say dangerous, but it could be very triggering. Mm-hmm. And we just have to have that awareness. And it's also good to have that in place. So if someone's doing, step 4, they should probably tell their sponsor or a friend or a colleague, I'm going to be doing this. And, is there anything I need to be aware of? Well, if it sends you in the dark rabbit hole of depression, then stop. Then stop and ask for some help, because you're not ready for it. There's too much going on. And, people have done some horrific things, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. And, the world, has mostly fantastic people, but there are people who have problems and they do some terrible things. I mean, we do know evil exists. Mm-hmm. So, and unfortunately, that's not who is attracted to, Friends in Recovery podcast, because they're sociopathic. They don't want to get well. They don't care. They have no interest in self-care and helping others and so on. But, one has to be mindful, like, hey, this could be a little tricky for me. If I'm talking about how I was high on drugs and I robbed a bank and I hurt somebody and I did time in jail, okay, now I'm trying to heal and mend. One has to find a way to sort of work through those things, and it's not always so easy. So it's just important to have that awareness. So, like, the beauty of Tiffany is that she's so aware that she owns so much that she can also have the capacity of changing. So if you don't have awareness, you can't change. So
there is a little bit to that, though, because there's a lot to what you're saying, because okay, I'll just put it out there. All right, so and I used to never be able to talk about this. What do you do with those people like me, who I'm a very positive person, but I still am a clinically depressed bipolar individual? Okay. And this, I always thought to myself, I want to keep those things in the past. I don't want to talk about how I was stabbed 6 times with a screwdriver by an ex-husband. I don't want to talk about how I had sexual abuse. I don't want to talk about rape. I want to shut that out. Right. I was that person. But how do you break through with those people, Jeff? Because this step was triggering for me. That's why I thought I could take those several things to the grave.
Yeah.
There was a few things I didn't want to admit. There was 3 real big traumas that happened that I never wanted to talk about ever again. So how do you work with, that's why, I
Yeah.
mean, I know because I've been through it, but I want to hear your answer.
Yeah. So it is. So you have to be ready for it. You have to, like, eyes wide open. Like, be prepared. I'm going to deal with this stuff, and it may knock me on my butt. Like, don't minimize it. That this is hard. This is a challenge, and maybe you can't do it all at once, and you have to do it. Have it teed up so you're safe. Like, I want to make sure I'm in a good place when I can tackle this. And so you're in a good mood, you're working in recovery, you have self-worth, self-esteem, you're feeling good about yourself. And now you're going backwards. Like, what? But sometimes we have to do that because we have to clear up our mess. And we have to get rid of these psychological cobwebs that eat at us. And even though we are looking good and people think we're doing fine, we know better because we're in some ways living a lie. We're pretending. So we have to be
exactly what was happening. I was pretending.
And we have to be willing to feel the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And pain, so when we think about physiological pain, it's uncomfortable, but there's a reason we have it. It's the alarm system in our body telling us there's something wrong and we need to fix it. This is about fixing it. Mm-hmm. So you go back and you feel that pain and we're fixing it. We're making it better. We're making it less painful. Does it completely go away? Probably not, but it's minimized and we can cope with it and we can coexist with it and it doesn't control us anymore. So you walk down a certain street where something terrible happened, it still may be scary, but not, you're not so paralyzed with fear that you can't do it anymore because life, we have to go on. We really have to find a way to live and move forward because that's the purpose of our of being here. It's interesting. I often say to people, let's just hypothetically say there's 50 weeks in a year and you live to 90 years old. That means you live 4,500 weeks. But if you're 50 years old already, you've already lived 2,500 weeks. You got 2,000 left. But let's just say you live to 80, knock 500 off. You got 1,500 weeks left in your life. You don't get them back. If you're 50 and you're living 80, you got 1,500 weeks. And put it in other ways, you have 1,500 Saturday nights left. Do you want to have a miserable Saturday night? And you have a miserable, okay, guess what? You don't get another one.
Yep.
You have 1,499 left, but you don't get that other one. So I could do it next week. And a year from now, knock off another 50. Now I have 1,450 nights left, Saturday nights. Do you want to live with fear, anxiety, and pain and be miserable and hate yourself? No. You have to be willing to feel the pain. Pain isn't always a terrible thing. It's a gift. It means we're alive. Denial is worse.
Yes. And I don't want to put this false illusion out there that I've worked through all this, but how I was able to do it through the 4th step was just acknowledge those things, give my body and my mind and recovery the ability to move on from those things. But now I'm working through and, touching these surfaces and really digging deep. And it might take years and years and years. I don't know, but I'm making progress.
But and you're right.
Do that.
If you're right. And this is a step in
just the beginning.
Progress. It's just the beginning. It's a beginning of letting it go. And like you said, you may never let all that stuff go, but it's better than before you did all this where you were at, right? I mean, I always say, I do some life coaching here and there. I always tell people you got to move the needle 3%. Got to move the needle 3%. And what I mean by that is, and Jeff, you explained it before, but you can't look at it as a whole. All right, so I'm going to bring up, Uncle Tommy who molested me and I'm going to get it done and over with. No, that's not how it is. That I can't have my resentment list can't be about that and think I'm going to be over it. So I always talk about moving that needle 3%. You're here and you want to get to here, right? And then when you're here, you want to get to here. You don't take it in huge chunks and think you're going to be over it all at once. What you want to do is you want to move it. Just look at 3% of it and move it. And then once you move it, you check the box off because you made progress, right? And then you move it another 3%, and then another 3%. And next thing you know, you moved it to 80% already, or 90%. Now, are you going to get over Uncle Tommy or all that stuff? No, I don't know. And that's how you were going to heal. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be in your mind, but it's what you do with it. And it's how, if you want to waste your life with it, or how you're going through with it. Like Jeff said, we only have certain time left in our lives, and we can either, I read a quote this morning. It said, something about just doing it now. Basically, if you just get into it and just do it, don't be afraid. Fear, the first seven deadly sins of step 4 is fear.
Right.
And that's the worst thing, is to be afraid. If you're going to be afraid to go through it, first of all, I'm not saying that I'm not saying trauma and any kind of sexual abuse or anything is to be taken lightly. Number one. Work with a therapist, hands down. Work with a therapist, hands down. Work with your sponsor, work with people you feel comfortable to get through this, because it's only going to be progress for you, and for me or whoever, and then just move through these things. Now, I don't have any trauma. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't have the big T, all those big things everybody talk about. Everybody has trauma in their life. And I know this is going to sound silly. I don't know if I brought this up in the past, but my trauma that I think about all the time is when my daughter Candace was a little baby. We were sleigh riding down a hill, and I jumped over her, right, and looked back, and she was laughing. She ended up down by the water. I had to go around and get her before she fell in the water or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, holy fuck, man, what if I jumped over her and I kicked her in the head? What if I could have killed her? That was the stupid. And I still, to this day, I still beat myself up. She's fine. She's great. She has 2 beautiful kids. She has a great husband, but that is my trauma. Right. And that's, I think we get what we get, but I can't live in that past. I can't say, okay, well, what if, but I couldn't imagine, Tiff, like what you went through, stabbed and all this stuff. How do you get over that? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that.
Well, here's one thing I will say. I never ever worked with a therapist or got any help for any of these issues. Not since I was a kid. Everything was all ignored. But 100% hands down, I owe all of my recovery to opening up, having the courage one time in a group meeting in treatment, and I opened up and made a statement that I had been raped. And from that point on, all those counselors in that whole treatment facility were like, okay, she needs to talk to this person. She needs to talk to that person. And bam, it opened up a whole world of recovery that I always knew inside I needed, but never had gotten. And so if anybody hears this and you haven't gotten help yet, open up in treatment with those therapists, because as soon as you say something, man, people are mandated to go into action, and they do. They do. Someone will finally look out for you.
You move the needle.
Someone will finally look out for you.
Yeah. You move that needle 3%. You didn't go, you didn't go to the police. What, do I go to the police? Do I go here? Do I go there? No, you moved the needle 3%, and that is it. And that's exactly what you did. And then 3% more happened, and so on and so on and so on and down the road. So yeah, I mean, that's how it happened.
That took a lot of courage. So you took that step, and then what happened? You got reinforced, and then you probably discovered you weren't the only one. So when we know we're not the only one, it's just, and then you see someone who's been there and they're doing really well. Gee, I want to be like that. That person can do it. Maybe I can do it. Maybe.
Yes. Constant reinforcement by all those things.
Yes.
Well, it takes tremendous courage. Ed, you brought up a good point about the 3%. So Boston Marathon is occurring, a week from this Monday, 9 days from now. And where I live in Newton, I'm at Hartford Hill. I'm at mile 19.8. I can look out my window that way, and the runners come by. So, and I've run the marathon many, many times. I know you run marathons as well. So I've done the Boston Marathon 20 times, and people will say, gee, how do you do it? 26.2 miles. I said, no, I look at it differently. It's all about how you look at it. I say, I'm running the Boston Marathon, but I'm running 1 mile at a time. I did one. Yep. So I don't run 26.2 miles. I run 1 mile 26 times. I'm breaking it down. And then for fun, I got 0.2 of a mile left.
Yeah.
And then it's a celebration. And you talk about pain earlier. We were talking about pain. When I would finish, people would say, how do you feel? I said, hurts so good. I'm in pain, but I'm loving it because it means I'm alive and I accomplished something. I'd rather suffer and feel pain and do hard things any day than doing something easy with no upside.
Mhm.
So that's what this is about.
Where there's no growth and upside. And you know,
Right.
listen, we're gonna life, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but we're gonna eat a shit sandwich every once in a while in life, and we got to learn how to get through that. And you know how you eat a shit sandwich? Fucking fast. That's how you eat it, right? Because you want to get through that, and then that's when the healing comes, right? When the healing comes is when you decide, okay, well, I'm not, you know, I this happened to me, that happened to me, and then the growth comes through all that, and then on top of it all, guys, like all of us here with our experiences, we get to share that. Listen, I ate this huge shit sandwich, but this is how I got through it, right? This is what I did to get the taste out of my. This is what I did.
I do not want this shit sandwich that you're
I'm skipping lunch today, Ed.
I know, me too. I know.
Bad visual, my friend.
No, but that's the blessings that all three of us have, including Skylar and everybody who works at Genesis House. We got dealt a bad hand in life, right? And we made something of it. We're helping other people through whatever the situation is. Each one of us specialize in different things, and we help those people through it. And that's where the healing comes in. That's where the growth comes in. And that's where the experience that other people look up to us, because we did the same thing. We were looking at those people before us. We were looking at those people that before
I
us.
turned every bite of that shit sandwich into an asset.
That's
every
right.
bite.
Absolutely.
Because I was not going to do that for fucking nothing. I'll tell you that.
That is true. That is true.
Perfect.
So, anyways, well, guys, we can go on talking about shit sandwiches all day, but I think we'll leave that one alone. Jeff, just amazing kind of clinical look at this step. I hope we could probably go on more longer with this, and hours and hours and hours. But thank you, Jeff. If anybody has any questions, or if anybody has any comments, please comment below or email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. We did talk about some kind of touchy subjects here today, and if you do want to reach out, and if you need help, please email us. We'll get you hooked up with Jeff right away. Tiffany is always available. Tiffany revealed a lot today too. Use her, talk to her. You can email her at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com, and she'll get the email and she'll get back to you immediately. This is something that we don't joke around with. Step 4 is something we don't joke around with, but it's a healing step. But we do have to go back into that past and dredge up some shit sandwiches that was tossed our way. But it doesn't mean that we have to rehash them. It doesn't mean we have to eat them again. We can move on from them, guys. That's the important part of this podcast, is we move on from all this. And that's what step 4 and step 5 does. It helps us heal through a lot of shit to get ready for the rest of the steps. So anyways, thank you guys. Jeff, you're a wonderful asset to this show, a wonderful asset to the community. We really appreciate you. And Tiff, you too. We love you, and we miss Skylar. We can't wait till she's.
And you too, Ed. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Ed
Ed.
gave out his first. What did you give your first autograph last week?
I did. I gave an autograph last week to Mike Miles. One of his clients wanted an autograph of our little podcast cards we give out.
Oh my gosh, I totally aspire to be you. I do. You're my hero.
Oh God.
Well done, Ed.
Well, that's about it for today. Remember, like, subscribe, and share this podcast, and give us a 5-star rating. And mostly, guys, just stay sober, everybody.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.